for us. Well, we're blessed with a double hitter tonight. We get Amber Alcoser is coming up and going to be sharing, I mean, so much experience, not just a woman who is blesses women in women's ministry and discipleship and mentoring women, but just being able, this is just another little, I would say another branch of that ministry for her is being able to give of her knowledge of her homeschooling and how she's walked her family out, serving her family, serving her community by actually growing good humans. So thanks for joining us. And I'm going to turn everything over to you. If you just share us how you started homeschooling and then all of the stuff you want to share with the ladies.
Okay. Are we looking at a particular subject this evening or just in general for homeschooling?
Just in general for homeschooling. So like what you found, like we have, I know you have you've gone kind of, you have little still at home that you're just starting, that's going into kindergarten, you have pre-K, and then all the way up to graduation. You've kind of done all of it now. So if you're things that you can share as far as tips on what has worked for you
Yeah,
and what didn't work for you, because some that would save ladies time.
absolutely. So, as she said, my name is Amber Alcoser, or Alcoser in Spanish. We've been homeschooling, let's see, this will be our, I don't know, 12th or 13th year. Just kind of a little backstory about myself. I was homeschooled in middle school through high school. And I was brought up with learning about the feasts and, well, more so about the Sabbath. We were just coming into understanding the Sabbath. So I've had that under my belt for quite some time now to be able to live that with my children. So I guess you could almost say we're now what? That'd be, I was first generation, second generation of walking in, understanding the Torah of our God. I have four children, ages 20 through 6. So I have two boys, 2018, and then two girls, 13 and 6. So as Charlie said, so Alyssa's actually going to be entering first grade this year. So per Colorado law, this will be her first official homeschool year. Of course, we were doing things trying to build her up through that. And then the girls and I have gone back to a homeschool cooperative this fall, which we were a part of during, because Alyssa is an adoption. So during Alyssa's beginning of her adoption, we walked with the homeschool co-op. And now I've got the boys graduated, they're moving on. And I'm like, okay, my girls, Ireland's entering 8th grade. And like I said, Alyssa first. I felt like I needed the community, especially with this year. This last year has been kind of tough on a lot of areas of our life. And we lost so much of the extracurricular during 2020. And the girls were feeling a bit hungry for community. So we have gone back to one of our local cooperatives, and it teaches on a classical conversations kind of curriculum. But because we are a Torah living home, we were, we do the same thing, incorporate the feast days into it. It's really hard for us to start school so early, then have to stop for the feast days and then pick back up. But, we use that as a missional opportunity in the community. We, let our light shine. They know there's something different about us. We invite them to our feast day, celebrations, and they're starting over this year with ancient studies. And so I asked the cooperative, I said, hey, since we're studying ancient studies and, it's heavy on Israel, you guys want to celebrate those feast days that you're reading about? so that's kind of fun to, see, their eyes, the curiosity peaked. And that's how I use that in the community. We're very much about outreach in our community up here to show them, hey guys, we not only talk about this, we live it, and how can we, help other families to understand it. And we've gained in our fellowship families because of that, because of our boldness. One year they were doing devotions during homeschool time, and they asked us to share about our Jewish Christmas. so we're like, no, it's Hanukkah, so, and people were like, we didn't know Christians could do that. We just, they didn't have an understanding. And, we use that as just kind of a witness opportunity for them. And it's fun just to see folks question, these Alcosers are so different. So I starting about 12 years ago, because I was brought up homeschooled, it wasn't a hard transition for me to go from, pulling my children out of public school to homeschool. But I did have some fear and felt a bit insecure because I was brought up of doing school at home. And so as I transitioned into homeschooling the boys, I was trying to also continue to do school at home. And the father had to really work on me and show me that he wasn't wanting me to just replicate what I had removed them from. He wanted to show me that, homeschooling is not doing public school at home. It's raising them. It's a lifestyle. It's the Deuteronomy, raise them up from morning to night, just instilling into them. And that took several years. It probably wasn't until Ireland was struggling in reading in first grade, and I was just before the Lord. I mean, it was tears every day. I'm like, what is going on? My boys learned reading in public school, so that wasn't something I had to teach them. So here I was with this new kid, this new reader, and I'm like, Lord, um, help me raise her up to be, a healthy reader, to be able to read your word. And a friend of mine, were sitting down. She was a speech pathologist. It was a neighbor. And I was just so blessed that she was nearby. And we were talking. I was like, what am I doing? I was beating myself up, and she's like, girl, you got to stop trying to do public school at home. And you've got to learn how to just live what you're saying. You're not trying to replicate what you've come out of, and just, listen to what the Lord has to say and listen. And I took it to him, and I was praying, and he was trying to show me to deconstruct still more of our deconstruction from what the world has taught us. Another portion of that, tearing down our idols and saying, let me walk you through how to raise your children and to do this with them and give them a solid foundation. And so he started to show me that, no, it's not about public school at home. It's about walking with your children daily. And so, unfortunately for the boys, I think I probably did more damage in homeschooling during those years, because I was trying to take everything that I thought of the world and implement it. They've recovered well, so praise God for that. I've got a 20-year-old who's graduated, praise God, and he's pursuing trade school. Second son who's finishing up his we call him our super senior. He's doing a second what do you call it, 13th year of high school, so he could get his associate's degree in a local trade school as well. So praise God, and it was really during that process of getting him into the school, they liked homeschoolers. They were very preferential to the homeschoolers because of their study habits, and they were going to be faithful in the programs that they were learning. And praise God, there had been several families ahead of us that had laid that foundation. So when he applied and they saw, oh, same homeschool those other families came from, they were real receptive, and he has blossomed so well in there. So then the girls and I, it's really, because I do use curriculum and it's classical, so there's a variety. It's very eclectic. So I'm not following just a out of the box curriculum for them. And like I said, Alyssa, since our legal laws here, you don't have to start until first grade. I've just been very gentle, letting them just kind of direct the first couple years, and before we worry about following heavy with the curriculum. But because now, I don't know, Charlie, could you let me know, has anybody talked about homeschool curriculum or homeschool co-ops yet?
It's come up just briefly a couple times. And I know that, again, Tamara had so much information. She was sharing that she had just started a co-op, being in a co-op, and I wrote that down as a question I was going to ask you, as well as if you go into that a little more, and maybe if you don't have one in your area, I don't know if you know how could they go about even starting something in their area, because I feel like, I know even we've been praying about on the board, and everybody here praying about could we do a virtual co-op, or at least encourage people to build co-ops in their area.
Yeah. So just a backstory for co-op for us was, one, the community. We wanted to be plugged in, and then we attended one for a couple years. Then I had, the way the co-op that we were attending at that time was set up, I had 4 children, and then 3 different levels, 3 different curriculums, and it was very overwhelming for me to try. And I'm a type A perfectionist. We got to do all the homework, got to do all the book work. We got to get it all done. And they're like, no, you just, chill out. But because I had a little one at the time, really little one at the time, we stepped back from it. But I started one in my home because I needed a little bit slower pace than what the larger cooperative was offering. So just kind of as a definition, a cooperative, now each state has their different legal technical terms for what a cooperative is. So for in Colorado, as far as in legal, if you were to do a scale of 1 to 10, from 1 being really easy to 10 being super strict, we're probably midline. So they're pretty strict about the law. We're fighting constantly in our legislature here about them trying to control us more and more, which is really sad to see. But praise God, we've got some really good legislators that are trying to keep parental rights there. So for my definition that I understand is by term of Colorado is that it's a group of moms who get together and we jointly homeschool our children. So for me, I am bilingual and almost trilingual now, but so they're going to put me in the language. I love history, I love science. So also they, plug me into those areas. So I teach a subject to the other mom's children. And we have, I want to say about 30 children, if I remember correctly, across from preschool all the way up to high school. So we divide it up into, those appropriate age groups that are going to learn. And so we have enough moms to cover all the subjects that are needed. So we're teaching all of the basic requirements for Colorado law. So science, history, grammar, and then for the high school students, they have to have a couple years of language. Math is a bit more difficult because of it's just one of those subjects that you cannot plug everybody into the same learning and same grade level, but we do offer some math. And so we just jointly teach each other's children. Now, because we consider ourselves a club, and that's how most cooperatives are assigned here in Colorado, that the mother or the parents are ultimately responsible for the grading of the work and for turning in their paperwork to the proper authorities. So basically, we're trying to shoulder that burden. So many parents, especially in this age with everybody's new and coming in, they feel really overwhelmed. They feel underqualified and they don't think that they can do it. And this kind of offers that opportunity for parents to be surrounded by others who, we've been doing it for a long time, or also just show them that, hey, you absolutely can do this. So it's kind of set up like college courses to where you get your lecture and the moms have done the lesson planning and writing out the syllabus, and the students then are responsible for completing their homework for the week and then, show up to class and do the same thing. So yeah, we just have it's a lot of fun, and we have, we do lunches together. So just building that community, especially in this age that we're living in, is super important. It is hard when you feel alone. And I just, if you feel like you have enough families within your geographical area to start one, it really is simple. We've made it difficult, but you just assign the subjects. And if you get to that place to where maybe you're overwhelmed with lesson planning or syllabus writing, most of your mainstream or well-known curriculums already have created the lesson plans. And so the syllabus is just breaking it down by whatever time frame that your state requires that you have to have the schooling done. And I don't know, Charlie, are we offering classes like that? Because I've written transcripts, I've, helped write syllabus, and I've written a little bit of curriculum as well.
It is this was just an information week, just for us to gather, take a temperature of the group and what the needs were, and the information we're getting back is allowing us now to take it seriously, that we would consider building an online co-op with regional and helping you develop regional groups to get together as well.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'm just trying to also do an assessment of where skill sets are at and, what we're offering. So, yeah, it's kind of what we're doing for school. Any other questions that you want me to address?
How often do you meet? Do you meet every single day?
The co-op meets once a week.
Oh, okay. Well, that's well, very doable. And then you said you divide up. I have heard also, or have you heard that they can kind of do like a one room classroom as well? How, like at the schoolhouse, the one room schoolhouse?
Yeah. Yeah, the co-op that I was we started was like that. It was in one room, the varying grades, so the teacher had to write, but it was small enough. And then the next year we wanted to extend it out to the community, so we actually put together a micro school kind of I think they were called a micro schools at the time, where it was a cooperative that you would teach gear just kind of, yeah, it was like the one room schoolhouse. So you would teach at the high school level, but then accommodate the materials for the youngers that were present. And that can be difficult if you don't know how to, you don't want to be teaching over the age, but you would have the moms that were part of that to help oversee and make sure the littles were getting it. So, yeah.
Good.
Apparently, those are becoming really popular and very expensive. There was a couple of them in Colorado that were popping up a few years ago, and I was looking into it, and I was like, man, this could be a lucrative business for some.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Tomorrow says that hers meets once a week also, and then the evening one meets every other week. So they have a daytime one that meets once a week, and then they have an evening one that meets every other week. So that gives a lot of freedom for any of you who are thinking like, maybe you start one and everyone lives maybe even an hour or so away. You guys kind of find out what's geographically feasible, that you can all meet halfway somewhere, and it's something you could do once a week or once every other week, and the children get, I mean, all the things, right? I mean, we've kind of already talked about social. It used to be the big thing was, oh my gosh, my children aren't socialized. But what we're seeing now is that's not true. They're uber socialized. They actually are, they're generationally socialized. They can
Absolutely.
come up and have a conversation with me as much as a 3-year-old, and they're not awkward about it. Unless, I mean, we do have, introverted children, of course, that might be a little more shy or introverted, but still.
Oh yeah, that's the age-old lie that, even I was brought up with homeschooling. Oh, you're going to have these, unsocialized children. They're not going to know what to do with people. And no, your siblings in your family is the priority. And when you teach them to get along and to love one another, I think part of our society breakdown is because we send off this kid, and they spend how many hours apart from one another. And then when they come home, they're all at odds with one another because they're all worked up from all of the over socialization of the day. That no, it's all about that building that sibling trust and the relationship, and then and then you can, if you're playing or extracurricular activities, you're totally socialized. I did want to say one thing about building co-ops. And I found this really important. And it seems to be, when you find those families, those core families that you share those values with, that you want to raise your children around one another. And and I don't know, the season that we're in, it's probably going to become more popular, but really to write out what the family values are and to everybody to agree to those bylaws. Because this particular co-op that we are a part of, I think they've been around for like 20 years, and they are super successful, not as in numbers, but just the community quality that I have ever experienced within a mainstream Christian cooperative. And I've always been impressed with the mothers and impressed. But one of the things, we were recently discussing was that we can agree on areas. When I had to sign the statement of faith, there wasn't anything in there that I disagreed with, because it's all about Christ. To them, they're all about Christ, keeping it centered. And I'm like, absolutely. That is why, we're doing this. But I just found, even as we were writing some and some of the others, just a season of building that co-op and the core families of setting those values. What are our values? Do we agree? And what happens when we have a disagreement? Communication, talking it out and working it out. Scenario playing is just super important. Yeah.
That's such great advice. Ruth Camargo over on Facebook is asking, she says, oh my gosh, I need tips for this for my kids. They're already tired of each other already. So any tips? Or she's got all her kids, she's homeschooling. She also is in a co-op. They do meet once a week. And so she's wondering, any tips that you have for your kids when they're tired of each other already?
Is she new at homeschooling? Is that why
No,
she's
I don't think she's new.
Oh, okay. Okay. I think sometimes we get so caught up in our curriculum and the pencil and the paper to forget to just stop and go have fun, especially before I don't know where she lives, but for us, we're like, man, we are squeezing in the last of summer that we can, the best that we can. And, just enjoying the time together, make it fun, field trips, get out, get them moving, wear them out, get them, try to find curriculum depending on their age group that incorporates a lot of outside time. Charlotte Mason curriculum has a lot of hands-on, get outside, nature walks, just trying to incorporate that into your learning. It's not all got to be bookwork. I have a gal here who's a super guru, and there's times where like maybe I wasn't able to get through the book, or I was just totally frustrated with the curriculum. Oh, and that's another thing I want to bring up too. I can't tell you how many hundreds of dollars I have spent on curriculum thinking, oh, it is going to be awesome, buy this big, thick book. And then I get like a chapter into it. I'm like, this really sucks. This curriculum is not what I like. It's okay to toss it. Don't force yourself. The resale value of most curriculum that's not written in is still high, especially right now. I mean, it is ridiculous on pricing of curriculum right now just because it's a hot commodity. But don't feel shy or don't feel bad if you say, you talk to your husband, you're like, man, honey, I'm sorry, I spent all this money on this curriculum. Be okay to let it go. Because if you try to force a curriculum that is not helpful for your child, maybe like I had to learn the hard way to discover how my children learn. So I have one of my youngest especially is an audio learner, so she loves to listen to audiobooks, and my other one cannot stand it. And so I've learned over the years to pay attention to those children that are more hands-on. Pay attention to the children. Maybe you need that break and they just need to go listen to something for a little bit while you work with the kid that needs to get their hands dirty. So there's a woman, I'll try to remember what her name is, but she does what's in the morning called the morning basket. So she puts together these baskets for the youngers to go and occupy themselves by themselves. So it's all safe, that you feel comfortable that they can hands-on do while you're occupied with the older children. And that's been really helpful for my younger one to make sure she has activities. Yes, Pam Barnhill. Yes, thank you for Kim for reminding me of the morning baskets. And that's super helpful for those children that are just, all over you while you're trying to focus. Yeah, the busy boxes. Yeah.
Well, I know, like you said about the cost of things that are up. We noticed yesterday we had Jane Diffendorfer. She was sharing, and we were looked up a book that she highly recommended. And on Amazon, it was like $125. But if you
Yeah.
went to the site, it was $39.95. So
Mhm.
you want
Yeah.
to make sure, because Amazon has things. I looked up today. I have a pencil. I love these pencils. Like, it's my favorite pencil. If anyone wants to like love me, the Bic Velocity 0.9. I like the thick lead because maybe it might be a little like intense, and I don't break it. It's comfortable because I write funky. And they're up to like, I'm just not even gonna, I can't see myself ordering them. It was like two of them was something like $12. It was
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
crazy. And I was like, what in the world is happening?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I have been, practicing thrift store shopping for quite some time, especially I felt the Lord telling me to start stocking up on board games and certain things to entertain the children. And then, of course, then the pandemic hits. And I started, the thrift stores have good, if you can find the way to focus on the books without the children going everywhere. There's some really good books and workbooks and just different things at the thrift stores that I've been highly impressed with. But yeah, the cost of things, like I had ordered my daughter's science book. The company canceled it and said, hey, we can't fulfill the order. What do you want to do? Got my money back. So I ran to Mardell's, and that's a good resource too for homeschooling if you have a Mardell's in your area. And I think they have 20% off on homeschooling materials. I go in there, and online, same thing. Amazon was like $72 for the Kindle. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to get the Kindle. I'll just get the hardback, or get the soft back book, the paperback book for her science, even at Mardell's, was $72. I'm like, are you kidding me that this is getting ridiculous? So our public schools here, they had already started charging for books, and it was getting expensive even before all this started happening. And just, the books, I have a friend that's got a bookstore, and she said the supply is really hard right now. The supply chains are just difficult to get things in. So I think, and they told us to, they've been telling us to prepare. It's going to get more difficult. So yeah, I would just, yeah, if you can stock up right now on homeschooling books, I probably would. So
Well, and we think about you if you've been to bought lumber lately. I mean, just because with COVID, the lumber prices have like they're up like almost 300%. You know, a
yeah.
2x4 now is like $56 or something stupid. So of course paper is going to go up. So that's why the
Yeah.
books are higher, paper's higher.
Mhm.
Um, Tamara brought up busy boxes, and Jane brought those up as well. That's what she did. Ruth has said she has a hard time multitasking between her littles and her older ones. And I know Jane brought up busy boxes, which just sounds like kind of like what you're talking about. Is like they have in the busy boxes, you could actually, Pinterest is loaded with ideas on ones to make and just change them out often. And they could actually be a learning activity for them to be doing. They're technically in
Yep.
school,
Oh yeah,
but
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So I know that I know your youngest daughter, she's active. She's full of great energy. And so how did you do that with other, keep multitasking between other
Yeah.
kids?
Well, for her age group and where we live right now, I can send her outside. Like I'm like, get outside, go get all that energy out. Like I said, she does listen to books, so she loves to listen to the audio books. So if I really, can't keep that, if it's one of those situations where you need more of an eye outside and you don't want to be, I'll sit her down with audio books. There's even, as far as I don't know how where parents are at with technology. I'm very strict. She doesn't get to use technology right now for entertaining during school time, but audiobooks I don't mind. So there's some things out there like if they just need them occupied, ABC Mouse, that's a real, they're learning, but they're engaged and they're playing. That's a cheap enough resource to use. The libraries. Now I have been super impressed with the libraries are getting some materials and just different tools in right now that we've absolutely been utilizing. They have these tablets that, and this is we're in Denver metro area, so I don't know what it's like where everybody else is at, but they have these learning tablets for, I mean, just of all different age groups that I've been also impressed with. So there's a lot of resources out there. It just can get really overwhelming to know where do I go or how do I find it. Yeah, is there any other? I know somebody was asking questions about how to multitask with the different children.
Yeah.
Okay. And also, while we're figuring out if there's any other questions, I want to share the well-planned daily planner. She does I use the on the go version. It's by a woman called Rebecca Ferris called the Well Planned Gal. And this is the smaller version. She has some great homeschool resources. And yeah, I love her planners as well. And I this year, because of my daughter's eighth grade, I got her the high school one or the student one to start teaching her how to plan herself, like get when she gets the homework from the teachers, how to put that all in there. And on her website, she does I think she's got some free resources on how to plan, just keeping that, and homeschool does not have to go on for 8 hours a day. If it is, something's wrong. I mean, seriously,
I mean, it goes on for 8 hours a day in school because there's so many kids in a classroom and you're dealing with corrections. Yeah, but you don't have to teach for 8 hours.
No, yeah, and if there's a subject that is dragging, math, if there is tears, if there is hurt, if there's something going on, stop and recalibrate. There have been days where I'm like, ding, 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 school's dismissed, we're done. Because I would rather cherish the relationship than I would worry about the curriculum. Your kids are constantly learning, and they're learning most by observing you. If mom's frustrated, if mom's getting upset, it's not going to fuel the day well. It's just not going to go well. So there's just days where it's like, you know what? It's a recess all day. We've got chickens, we've got critters, we've got things. I can, I'm like, hey, it's time for you to go pick up pine cones or something. Like there's things that we can do. Counting, get outside, nature walks, just sometimes the fresh air just needs to help recalibrate. Yeah.
That's really good. Really good. Ruth has said Ruth is actually in Albuquerque, outside of Albuquerque, New Mexico. So she said, we're not
Okay.
far. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty down there.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Let's see. Thanks, Ruth. By the way, that's where I started getting vertigo and it hasn't gone away since. So I'm blaming Albuquerque for it. So
They have the best restaurant there that my family loves, Little Anita's downtown. That was one of our favorites. And they made it, and I don't know if it survived the pandemic up here, but they brought the chain of it in Denver. Best green chili New Mexican food I've ever had.
Good to know.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
love knowing where the good food is. Okay, any other questions? Love the morning. You know, it's interesting you have that you said about the morning basket. I was just telling my daughter I need to go to the Goodwill store because I want a basket, but I want it like, this size, not, kind of square with a handle because I used to have my morning basket that has my Bible in it, my journal in it, and that way wherever I decided I wanted to go and have my morning time, I had my basket and it had like my highlighter, my pen, if I had a devotional, a book I'm reading, it's my basket. It has like what I'm doing at the
Yep.
time. And especially with our lifestyle, I'm like, I need a morning basket. I was just saying I need a morning basket. So even big girls
Yeah.
need morning baskets, guys.
Yeah. Yeah,
Good.
absolutely. Yeah.
Any
Um,
any tips
yeah.
on how I had asked Tamara this, and how do you incorporate the feast coming up as far as homeschooling? How do you incorporate that?
Yeah, very similar to what she was talking about. I've used various resources over the years to try to, just solidify it, teach them about it, get them the visuals. But honestly, for us, it's just the hands-on. Just do it. To us, it's like, we're doing it, we're talking about it, and we're just incorporating it. And and especially during this month, the time of Elul, there's a lot of talk about it. I'm just trying to just in my own personal, if I can get myself excited, they're going to get excited. If I am working on what I've got to work on to make restitution, we have those conversations, hey, just recently we've had some struggles with some friends. And, I was taught, my daughter, my oldest, my 13-year-old and I were talking, and I said, this is the season where we've got to make it right. We've got to make sure we're doing our part in it. And, we were talking about her friendships. And I said, is there anything that you need to make sure? So I think it's just really just walking it and talking it. And, we've built, well, the first year we did Sukkot, and we didn't know what the heck we were doing. We just went outside and built a teepee. Let's go have fun. Let's try to figure this out. What would a sukkah look like if we were Native American? What would it look like if we're living in, different parts of the world? It's not going to look the same. It's not going to be American all purdy. There's some beautiful pergola out there. So what would it have looked like, and so, and so and so, because I have friends that I minister to in Africa, and she's like, Amber, she goes, do you realize these people live in shacks and sukkahs all day long? So how do you tell an African to go build a stick fort if, they already live in that? So, it just gets our brain thinking of like, okay, what would this look like in other culture? So we do talk about, those things, how to share. Yeah. So we have like Feast of Trumpets coming up. This is something that I have done for I think like 8 years now, 7 or 8 years at least. I host a local, we call it the hike and toot. It was started because I had littles and just trying to, and we had friends who had littles, and I'm like, hey, let's take a hike and let's just go blow these shofars. And I would buy for all the families, these really annoying wind making toy things, like party favors or just stuff for the kids, just to like show them, hey, we're not totally cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. We're just trying to honor the Lord, and we can hike, and then the kids can make noise outside and it's not driving us all nuts. And that has been an amazing outreach tool for just the community, for our kids to see that others can join us. And I mean, I think last year we had over 50 people show up from varying areas. No, thank you. From varying areas within the Denver metro, just come up and show, and a ton of kids. And so as we do it and as we obey the Father in doing it, people start wondering, what's going on. So let's see, for Feast of Trumpets, we hike. We lots of food. This is a food time, except for starving day, as my daughter calls it, for Yom Kippur. But even then, we try to just get out of the house. Don't let them sit in the kitchen; it'll drive you nuts. So, and then
Fast well. You mentioned you live in so now I don't know if you have relocated, but you live past Pine still, correct?
yeah, Yeah.
She also lives in it. So those of you who are like, yeah, well, I don't live in a big city like Denver. She actually lives like an hour from Denver, up in the mountains. So she's in a beautiful mountain community with
Hmm.
like great resources. Of course, just an hour away with Denver, so close too. But I mean, your community, you're such a great advocate in your community.
Well, that's what we're supposed to be, right? I mean, we're supposed to be the light. And, sometimes we get kind of shy and being bold because, well, they're going to reject us. Well, guess what? It ain't about us. They rejected our king and they crucified him and he overcame it so we could. So we've got to learn to be bold in this time frame. People are hungry. People are, I mean, I mean, you see it. You see the growth on the portion. You see it across the other networks that, people want to know something about what is going on. And these feast days have a prophetic underlying statement to them. And, are we living that so that gives them a hope? Because yeah, those other feast days are just, of the world are false and they don't last and it's fleeting, but his are going to be eternal. I was trying to think of another outreach that we do. Hold on just one second. I'm being bothered by one.
Okay, you guys, I don't know, but while she's doing that, I'm so doing a hike and toot. So Sydney's already like walked out, but I'm just telling you, hike and toot is happening in the Hot Springs area. So if you live in the area and you have kids, we're totally doing hike and toot. That's so happy. My grandbabies, yeah, I have a 3 and a 5-year-old. We are hiking tooting, and I know Sydney's littles. She has a 3-year-old and another little, and other friends with littles. We're so doing a hike and toot
That's
next
right.
week.
You make sure you name it that. We've got to
I'm
franchise this.
totally. I mean, you franchise it. I'm gonna, and I all the credit goes hashtag hike and toot Amber
Yes.
Alcoser.
Yeah.
Yes,
You know what? Maybe we'll start a Instagram of just hiking too. Yeah.
hike and toot, and you like have to you have to show your pictures. Would you
Yeah.
guys do that? Would you, as you're doing your homeschooling, as you're doing things, would you share things on there? But wait, there's more. By Monday, start looking around. We are going to do a portion homeschooling Facebook group so that for just you guys can get in there. I noticed Kimberly said she wishes there was a place that you could discuss popular curriculums, you know, books and stuff that people have vetted out just to help each other before you spend the money. So we are gonna have starting. That's our baby step in, is to start the group. So then we have a pool to get your information and help you guys help us guide through the rest of it. But at least it gives you a place of Torah pursuing moms and families who are trying to homeschool to chat with each other. So you have something like this, but you have it all the time that you can go in and say, Amber,
Yeah.
how do I do
Absolutely.
a hike and toot? Oh, thanks,
Yeah.
Erica. Yes, we have to add it to the t-shirt, hike and toot, a new t-shirt idea. Amber, we have a growing list of t-shirt ideas.
That's awesome. Yeah. We
Hike
should.
and toot, hike and toot.
I can
Yeah.
too. Yeah. Yeah. And, I was thinking about what you're saying of having that online community. Once I did a once a month mom's dinner just to host around my table to have moms be encouraged because it is, one of the things that we American moms suck at is reaching out to the community. We think we have to shoulder it all. Like we've got to be the educator, we got to be the mom, I mean, we do it all. And honestly, if you look at scriptures, if you look at other cultures, that is not what we're called to do. We do not have to shoulder it all. And moms are hungry and thirsty for community and to shoulder these things together. So
Yes.
even if you don't think you can do a co-op, just start by hosting maybe once a month of an encouragement night. Like there are some really good books out there and encouraging books, or just praying and eating together is so important. Some of these moms, we have gone through some thick and thin together, shouldering things together. And even though we might not see eye to eye in our Torah observance, honestly, at the end of the day, when somebody's dying, when somebody is sick, it doesn't matter how much Torah you know. It's, do you know God?
Yeah.
Do you know the
Do you
Creator?
know Jehovah Rapha? Do you know the one who can call down to pray? We used to,
Yeah.
Amber, we used to do when Shelby was little, we used to do these things. I used to do, they were called chat and chew. And we were all poor, I would say as church mice, because most of us were in ministry, we were youth pastors, or we had no money, like less than no money. So whoever's house it was at, they had to make the grilled cheese sandwiches. And then everyone else brought soup. Like we would just say, okay. And so everyone brought a can of soup, and we would pick 2 different kinds. And that way we would have 2 pots of soup we could make, and grilled cheese. And that was it. And who cares? We
Yeah.
didn't care what it tastes. We didn't care. We just wanted needed to be together so you didn't feel alone. And I know that that's another thing you guys can look forward to is we're going to be doing a challenge every month called Just Once. And the Just Once challenge will have a list of things that you can do just once. And it might be invite someone to your home for a grilled cheese sandwich.
Yeah.
Like you have to pick one just once thing because our heart's cry for this year, we know the Holy One is dispensating mentoring discipleship, get in your building community,
Yes.
not just like this because
Yeah.
of course, but we'll help you build some home groups that are in your area. We'll help you build some communities in your area.
Yeah.
Whatever we need to do, that's what we're going to help you do this year because we want to get you out of your boxes. Even
Yeah.
just once might be saying hi to someone in the line at the
Yeah.
grocery store.
Yeah, absolutely, Charlie. Even if you don't feel qualified to start a house church or feel like to facilitate whatever spiritual, whatever, you can still do the homeschooling thing. You can still have a mom support group. And from that, do a Bible study together. Get deep. I mean, this is the season to get deep. I mean, I'm getting deep with my children. I'm a missionary on the side from homeschooling. We do it together. I take my girls with me. We do things together. And, today we got a call from the missional leadership group out of Kenya. And, they were sharing this video from a mom out of Afghanistan. It's absolutely horrible what they're going through. I mean, they are fighting for their lives over there. And, my daughter and I was like, this is the time. Let's drop on our knees and pray right now. There's a mom over there that is holding her babies that doesn't know what's going to happen. And we're at peace, so we're going to intercede for them. This is what's going to teach our children the truth about why are we worrying about homeschooling, to teach them to go out and have a hope in the world if we can't teach them to have a hope. Like it's just more brain knowledge. I'm not saying, I've got a whole stack of curriculum right here I thought maybe I'd share, but it doesn't, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if Christ is not the center of their life as well. And we're raising up these little disciples to go out. So even if we don't feel bold, let's raise them to be bold. Let's get them to.
Yes.
And I use my
Preach.
little one all the time. She is like a bold little lioness, and I'm like, okay, she's gonna make a friend on the playground today. And then I'll go, and when she's done caused a ruckus with their kids, then I'll get with the mom. Because I'm like, she's kind of like that in between. She's just so bold. But this is a season for that, and
It is, and it's just around our table. It's just inviting someone over, and you don't have to have money to have them at your kitchen table. You don't have to have a big, beautiful house. You know what? I promise you, nobody cares.
Yeah.
No one cares. You know what my favorite memories are those chat and chews when literally my apartment was so tiny. We had such a little house. We were sitting on the floor. We weren't all spread out. I had a 5,000 square foot house. Those memories aren't fun to me because everyone was too spread out. My
Yeah.
best memories are in that. I mean, I live in 400 square feet now. And who did we have? We had all these women who showed up from the Women of Valor that we had to do a creation gospel, some stuff. And we had all these women in my little, and we were on the floor and we were standing and we had so much fun together. It didn't have to be a big giant mansion and you didn't have to have crazy food. It's okay if you're serving chicken fingers or like chicken nuggets, and you got a bottle of ranch dressing. You're good to go.
Even if you start a local text prayer group, like it's with the homeschool co-op. I've been absent for a few years and we're coming back, but I'm just, bold in this season. And one of the moms, her daughter was in the ICU this last week with COVID. And so she's freaking out, right? I mean, she's freaking out and everybody's sending emojis. We're praying. And I'm like, stop with the emojis. Let's get a Zoom. Let's pray. I was like, it is the season to rally around people because people are dying, people are sick, people are hurting, people are losing jobs, and it's just a tough season. And we got on the Zoom call and it ended up being across the nation. It was so powerful. And I told her, I said, I don't know what you have of your daughter that you can take into the hospital, because she was part of this daughter. I was her Spanish teacher for a few years ago, and so I knew her and I knew what mom was going through, and I'm like, go get a t-shirt. And there was two other moms that just came on the Zoom call to be physically with her, and I said, let's anoint that t-shirt. Let's get it in there. Let's get her, whatever we could do. We're going to practice Acts chapter 19 right now. And I kid you not, she walked out of ICU in 4 days. It was, you talk about fueling the faith of these moms who don't have what we have of a hope. I mean, they have a hope because they believe in one day being resurrected. But what about right now? What about the solidity, the solidness of our faith right now? And now they're, I mean, you talk about every day a prayer chat going, please pray for this, please pray for that. And this is the season to be able to engage with these women in our communities to say, hey, not only are we homeschooling, but we love you. I mean, they're struggling too. I mean, come on. It's not easy when you got a bunch of kiddos running around and
Absolutely. And
you're
we're
trying
about
to
to
look
see
sane.
we're about to see an outpouring, you guys, of, I believe, and I know that there's, I just had this conversation with Deborah Flanagan, and we were talking about, we're about to see an outpouring like we've never seen before. And
Mhm.
it's going to be amazing. We're going to see the dead rise, the lame walk. We're going to see but on the flip side of that, there's going to be even more crazy stuff that's going to happen. But what the other things are going to happen so that we continues to build our hope. That's one of the reasons I know Dr. Deb and Miriam Stallsworth, that they're doing the conference they're doing in Oklahoma City. It's not going to be in depth. So those of you who've bought tickets, and you know, just so you know, it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's like $129 right now if you get it before the middle. I hope I quote this right. There's a link somewhere in there. But if you it includes all your food. It includes the thing. You do have to pay for your room separately, but they can bunk up and all the things. You can double up with people, all the things. But it's not going to be a bunch of super deep Torah teachers. We're all coming in, all of us who've been asked to teach, we've been asked to come and teach some things from the spirit, some things to come in about healing and restoration in your life, praying
Mhm.
for each other, laying hands on each other, worshiping. We have, like, I know Bat Rivka's coming in. Those of you who love her, she's coming in to do like worship, Israeli worship, and she is fully spirit led and spirit filled and from Israel. And she brings in the most, I love her. She's such a great friend. But you're going to see powerful things happen that doesn't, like she said, if you don't know the one who gave us Torah, then you can't just be so head knowledge and you're like
Yep.
no earthly good. Remember they used to tell us
Yeah.
that all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean that, and you think, what does that have to do with homeschooling? Everything.
Absolutely. We raise our kids to do it. We were at homeschool co-op last week and these little boys, they were out playing Nerf guns, shooting up each other, and they stirred up a wasp nest, one of those yellow jacket nests, and he got stung. I mean, all up and down his leg. And so he comes in screaming. I think he's like 7 years old. Comes in screaming, mom's upset, the whole kitchen's upset. I mean, it was you can imagine. It was, if it's like that in your own home and you got one kid losing it, then imagine a whole co-op. And you got moms talking about, watch his breathing. Don't let him go into shock. I mean, there was just like all this, pronunciation declarations over him. And, mom's like, she comes to me and she goes, hey, I need you to take over my science class. I need to get out of here. He's upset. I'm upset. We need to go home. And I said, did anybody stop and pray? Like, did anybody stop and pray? And she's like, no, nobody, and he's in pain. And I said, just simply, in the name of Yeshua, pain stop. I put my hand on his heart. I said, be at peace. Shalom, right now in the name of Yeshua. And I had to go. I had all these kids. So I had to go. I come back and she's in the classroom. And I'm like, I thought you were leaving. And she goes, her eyes are like this big. She goes, he's better. And we stayed, and I come home and I get this text message from her and she's like, I'm a new believer and I've never seen that before. Like I can't wait to get to know what this is. And I'm like, Lord, have we really failed the church to show them that this is what it is about? This is what our children need to learn in this process is lay your hands on the sick and they shall recover, period. It doesn't matter if they can draw on the map from America to India and how we got there. No. let's be bold in this season and raise them up to say, I asked my Spanish students, I said, why are you here? Well, because mom makes us. And I said, have you ever thought of it as learning another language so that one day you can go be a missionary? Have you ever, so that one day you can get this gospel out? I said, do you not realize we have hundreds of thousands of them at our border? This is an opportunity for us to share the gospel and to speak with other people of other languages. And, it changed their heart a little bit about it, instead of being all, begrudging because mama made us come in here was, let's make it fun. Let's share the gospel. But yeah, that's
Yay.
my soapbox. So
No,
yeah.
I'm like, I'm like, we're on the soap op. We'll stay on it. So you have a few little resources we can kind of, if you want to share your stack of resources with us, and then we will, and Tamara's over the side. This is so right. That's so on point. I feel it. Yes, I feel it. Yeah, we got all the hands raised, hands in the air, just don't care.
Woo, woo. Yep.
Woo. So we're good. Yeah, let's set this world on fire. I think that they need to see the world has seen Christianity, and we need to show it at another level. We need to show them the axe power, not just we not just the strength and the knowledge of Torah, but the power of the New Testament that backs it up, right? That's what
Yeah.
we need to be showing them the whole book.
That's why
So
he gave us the Holy Spirit. Yeah. Okay, so just a couple of resources that I use for my little young reader. I use the McGuffey's First Eclectic Reader. Super easy. Just teaching them how to read or teaching her how to read. It gives the vowel, how to, sound it out. And I am not a grammar person. So it's really hard for me sometimes to read. I'm learning along with them. And then she can then go and take words from that book. This one's a really cute, the little lesson book, and it's all just let's see if I can show it, about writing and drawing at her age. So you could just pick words out of the book that she's been reading, and then she just can write and draw pictures. So those two go together. I forgot who made this one. Momdelights.com. And I don't know if you want me to put a list together and send
yeah,
it
that
out
would be
with.
great. Yeah, if you have a list, you can send it to me and I'll pop it underneath your video.
Yeah. So for your math students, there's traditional math, all kinds of math. I do not like math. I'd rather shove pencils in my eyeballs than to teach math, especially elementary math, because it's so repetitive, and that is just not my favorite thing to do. But because Alyssa likes to read so much or likes to hear books so much, there's a reading math out there called Life of Fred. And this one's Apples. It's the first book in the series. And the books are basically just reading stories of math. And it does have work problems at the end if you want, the more hands-on, but really they're just hearing the concepts. It's just stories of the concepts of math, which is an interesting curriculum to use especially for the readers. And then of course for the printing, handwriting without tears, super easy for those young writers. I use that for even my now 8th grader when she started in cursive. And we've now used all the advanced, we've worked actually through all the advanced cursive books.
I think they call that hieroglyphics now, cursive.
Cursive. Oh yeah. Huh.
Yeah, they don't teach it anymore, so it's hieroglyphics.
No, the homeschoolers do. We're gonna read the Constitution.
I was teasing someone the other day, and they were like, I don't remember, Gen X or something. They were like, well, something about, I didn't know something about technical stuff. I said, listen, sister, I could stop your world if I could just shut everything down and start writing in cursive, and you have to drive a manual stick shift. Your world would be shut down.
Or rotary phone, like,
or you actually had to like swipe the card in a thing and count. You actually had to count change back. Like, I could shut your world down. So don't talk to me about who's deficient.
Yeah.
So yay for you teaching handwriting.
Yeah. Story of the world, history, great for the elementary ages. They have
we posted those, and everyone's highly recommended reading those at night to their kids. So you guys hear this one. This is a winner. The Story of the World.
Story of the World is a winner for the elementary ages. We use Biblioplan for the older ones, so through middle and high school, and it teaches that. It's all classical based, so basically it's a Greek understanding of our history. So it's very Greek minded, which sometimes we have to kind of, as Torah observant and realizing God is secular, your classical education styles like timelines. I mean, they love to see start and keep going down. So that's Greek mentality of that dialectic kind of, understanding. But it does in the homeschool world, it does repeat itself. So it's a 4-year plan. His classical education repeats itself. So they're doing ancient history this year and tying in the scriptures. And interesting enough, Biblioplan rewrote its history book, and they introduced the chiasms, which was totally like, I mean, that's like, you know, creation gospel. I love Marty Solomon and his Bema discipleship. He teaches on the Torah and he teaches in depth on the chiasms. And when we were doing the high school history, I was like, man, this is so awesome. And I got to sneak in a Torah lesson. And then they all were excited for the podcast that I was going to share to go deeper with chiasms. I'm like, get them, God, you know, show them. so, um, so the same writers of the story of the world do grammar as well. They've extended a lot of their resources. So Ireland in the middle and high school, they're doing the grammar for the well-trained mind. So Susan Weisbauer, she's the one who does the well-trained mind curriculum. And then apologia is my favorite science. Has anybody mentioned apologia yet?
I feel like I saw it over in the chat. So tell us more.
Okay, so apologia is creation-based science, young earth-based creation science, and they have curriculum for the elementary all the way up to high school. You can even do advanced science studies with them. So if you have children that are needing to be AP science or, you know, the more advanced programs, they are excellent, excellent, excellent for their work. And so we've got this year we're doing botany for Alyssa's age group. So the elementary is doing exploring creation, and apologia does textbook and then workbooks. And the workbooks can be fun and hands-on. I am not a crafty person. I could care less about paper crafts. Some people love it, but they offer that. So if you like paper crafts, they have a lot of hands-on. If you like more of the science experiments, they have lots of opportunities within the workbooks to do. And then if you need a language study, what I'm doing for high school this year is called Spanish Now. And it's level 1, but it's for high school. Or I guess if you had an upper middle school, you could use that as well. Otherwise, there's a lot of Spanish resources out there. It's not Bible based, but I'm sure there's some other, I think, oh gosh, Bob Jones and some others have some really good Spanish programs that you could use as well. But yeah, those are my top curriculums right now. So yeah.
Fun.
But,
any final tips, and we're gonna wrap it up for the night, guys.
Okay, awesome. Has anybody gotten into the Passion Translation?
I have, I know, and I've been reading, we did Psalms 27. I did it the other day for you guys on, we started out, I did it from the Passion Translation.
Okay. It was 50% off at Mardell's when I had to go get the book, and I'm like, and it's the New Testament. I've done some of the reading, and I have loved it because you know how Hebrew is so like floral. It has all these description words.
Yes.
And the Passion Translation, that's what he's doing. He's just taking the Hebrew and he's just giving it all of the floral, the artistic. And man, you talk about just opening up the scriptures in a different way. We have really been enjoying reading that. Yeah.
He does a great job. And for those of you, my friend Gretchen Rodriguez, and he wrote a couple little devotions that I read every morning. It's like Whispers from Grace, some different little ones they wrote together, and great. I love it. I do too.
Yeah.
I love that. And a lot of people ask on here, what translation do you use? Which is really great. Oh, my son's using BJU Spanish, Chris says.
Okay.
A lot of people ask, what translation do you use? And the answer is yes. Use them all. Read them all, because not one of them is right. We would need a big giant train load, right? We know even each word in Hebrew has like so many dimensions, and it's a movie. Like every word is its own little movie, and then you go to the next.
Absolutely.
So it would take, you want to read all of them so you get the movie. You want to see all the pictures, and then you need to learn Hebrew so then you can actually see the dimension. And you could start out with us. I know Brenda does a great job teaching us the dimensionality and the energy of the letters. So even just at that basic level, which you can teach, it's a language for your kids. Yes. You're teaching them to look at the letter. So when they see the letter, they're like, oh, I know the picture of that letter. And I know then if I add it to this, I can actually see the movie of this word and I can sound it out. It's like hooked on phonics. Like I could sound this out. And even though I might not be able to have a conversation with someone, I can take the word and I see the movie and the hieroglyphic of this word, and I can sound it out and I can tell you what it means without having to even open up a Strong's Concordance and try to go into Gesenius and see all the lexicons.
Absolutely. It's a great discipleship tool. And I've learned through my studies of that Hebrew dimension to now when I'm talking to people and I'm trying to get them to see something, I've asked the Father when I'm using the give me a parable. Give me something that speaks to them because he's so visual. You know, he's so prophetic. Hebrew is very prophetic and it's very visual to like use that so that it speaks to them. And with our children, it's the same way. They have an imagination. You know, a sanctified imagination is a beautiful thing because there's no limit to it. You know, it just can go on. And Alyssa has a big one. So
I love it. Like grab onto that, right? Don't just grab onto it. That's one of the reasons like they see the Greeks and Romans, they didn't understand Yeshua was because he spoke in parables. So they thought, how can he be some great teacher? Because he spoke in these like child stories. What they
Mhm.
didn't realize is the dimensionality of all of it. They didn't understand the idioms of the day that he was speaking in, that they would have understood a dimension of that the Romans and the Greeks couldn't understand because he wasn't reasoning things out for hours. He was basically getting life-changing concepts in a parable.
Absolutely. Life.
So
He was helping them to see
yes,
see the
yes.
hand of the Father just in life. Yeah, I make it a point to try to read a different translation once a year. Like get a different one and just read it. Like we're starting on Ireland and I, when the Torah resets at Simchat Torah, we're gonna do the 90-day reading challenge of the scriptures, like the whole Bible. We're gonna try. It's 12 pages a day, and it's I went ahead and bought it in book, so it's just right there, and it's the NIV. Not my favorite, I'll tell you. The nearly inspired version is not my favorite, but I'll probably be paralleling it because I've got 10 different ones just on my app. And I was
Right,
like,
right.
yeah.
Good. And right now for the Passion, it only has the New Testament, Psalms, Proverbs. I don't think it has Ecclesiastes in there yet. So, but I think they're trying to
He,
work on all the
yeah, he
things.
has. You can get the books individually, the Bibles individually. He's got most of the Old Testament translated now. You can buy them. I'm working through, I think Isaiah, and I love all the footnotes. I go on these rabbi trails on the footnotes. I mean, it's like so fun. But
Oh, I love
yeah,
that
well,
rabbi
thanks for
trails.
having me on,
You're
Charlie.
welcome. Thanks,
Love you
everyone. Thanks
guys.
for coming. Do you want to pray over the ladies as we go out tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. Father, I thank you so much for this opportunity. Father, I bless their homeschooling. I bless what they're doing to pour into their children. I ask for you to give them just an extra super grace inside of their home as we start this new calendar year, this new homeschool year, and that Lord, your presence is just felt as they walk through the process of homeschooling and discipling their children. Father, I ask that you pour out your Holy Spirit upon our children. Raise up this generation. Lord, let them amaze us. Give them a boldness. Give them a desire to want to just be hungry and thirsty after the things of you. You said, Lord, that if we hunger and thirst after you, you will fill us. So fill those children up and give those moms, Lord, just the 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 Holy Spirit wisdom and understanding of how to reach their children's heart. Father, show us, give us new revelations of what our children are hearing and seeing and how we can minister to them. Father, I just bless all of the women that have been on here this evening. And in Yeshua's name, amen.
Amen. Good night, ladies. Hey, sissy. Bye bye.